Now that you're listening to Carla Green on BBC Radio Humberside, and I've come out of the studio and I'm outside the BBC building next to Queen's Gardens, and there's a motorhome here, a gigantic motorhome actually. I didn't realise quite how big it was when I was sitting in the studio looking out of the window, but now I turn round, it is very big indeed. And on board this motorhome are Dave and Andy as they prepare later on today to set off to Estonia. The reason they're going to Estonia is because they're going to be taking part in a 100-kilometre kayak ultra marathon challenge. It's absolutely brilliant that they're doing this. They've been doing so much training, months and months of training, whether it's on the kayak on water or in their home on a rowing machine, getting ready for it. The first UK team to take part, raising money as well for Dove House Hospice. We're going to hear a little bit more about that later on in the hour, but I'm going to climb on board the motorhome now. I'm going to come inside. Eilish is here as well, who's working with me on the show today. Eilish, you put your bobble hat on. It's not that cold.
You never know. We might get snow in a minute.
I think Eilish thinks we're coming with you to Estonia. This is massive, absolutely huge. It's sensational. And I am going to look in the toilet, if you don't mind. I'm just going to open the door. Yes, there is a toilet and a shower as well. It's got all the mod cons, this. Let me come through into the living area where I'm joined by Dave and Andy. Hello, Dave.
Hello, good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you. Andy, hello.
Hello, good to see you.
Wonderful. Right, I'm going to take a seat next to you. In fact, before I do, Andy, just come, Dave, sorry, come with me, because we did have a look, didn't we, a moment ago in your fridge, and I did point out this fridge is bigger than the one that I've got in my kitchen. Dave kindly opened the fridge for me, and all we've got in here, have a listen to this. All we've got in there is beer. That's it. That's all the supplies you've got so far, Dave.
We haven't been shopping yet, but sadly, there's a lot more beer under the cupboard in the back here, and there's a case of wine there, gin and whiskey. It's expensive when you get to Scandinavia.
Yeah, but that's not for while you're on the kayak. That's for before and after, I'm assuming.
You know, there needs to be a carrot and encouragement for us to finish 100 kilometres, so that is going to stay untouched until we finish the race.
Well, when we met at Tixon on the side of the River Hull, you did joke that your reason you were sitting at the back of the kayak or sitting at the front was so that you couldn't be seen having the gin and tonic.
Well, I think, yeah, Andy's going to keep me in check. I think I like a drink slightly more than he does. He's far more an athlete.
OK, well, let me sit down next to you. It's lovely to see you both again. We met in Ticton some weeks ago. You were getting ready for a 3-mile trip. Was that correct?
That training session? No, we did about 27 kilometres that day. Yeah.
Oh, was it 3 hours? You were 3 hours. Sorry, I'm completely underplaying it. You were 3 hours on the water, not 3 miles. How did that go?
Yeah, it went well. I mean, it was we're not entirely certain what the conditions are going to be like because Estonia's in quite high latitude and it's quite early in the year. So we've been training in conditions that have, been windy, cold, raining, just to actually. So we're acclimatised for whatever the weather's going to be like up there. And that particular day, I think it was quite windy and cold, wasn't it? Yeah. So we've done training throughout the winter, really, just to ensure we can replicate the same type of thing, the same environment as the race is going to be in.
Yeah, and I ran out of petrol, didn't I, and was late and made you wait for me, huddled in your coats.
You are forgiven.
Just about. And so what other training have you done ahead of this?
Well, we go to we're members at Holland Price Gym, so we go most mornings to Holland Price. We've done a weight session particularly there. Andy's done a lot more weights than I have because I've got a bit of a shoulder injury at the moment, which is not good preparation for a canoeing race. But we've also got a kayak ergo machine at home, which is basically it's like a rowing machine, but it mimics the stroke of a kayak. And I've done quite often 10k on that. Just sat there listening to music, just paddling away. Yeah. So we are prepared. I think that I don't think you never prepare sufficiently for one of these events, but actually, the body is going to be put through an ordeal. We've been told that actually it's really important to ensure that we're nourished, so we've got to get the drinks in, we've got to get the food in, we've got to plan about what we're going to eat. There are feeding stations actually on the route, but the Estonian diet and our requirements I think might somewhat differ, so we're going to carry our own stuff. And you've seen with a kayak that's 6.7 metres long with compartments in, we can carry whatever we want really, but clearly weight's going to be an issue as well.
Yeah, so no bottles of beer, they'd be too heavy.
Correct.
What is the Estonian cuisine?
Well, okay. So it first was translated as porridge with lard in. Okay, but we believe that actually what they mean, it's going to be something like lard-ons. We think it's going to be like ham rather than lard itself. But we've been to when we've raced in Poland before, we've been to some sort of events where they do eat a lot more fatty diets than we're used to in the UK. So we don't want to take any chances on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You mentioned jam sandwiches when we spoke. Is that still the plan?
Absolutely. Yeah, there will be jam in the fridge later.
When you've actually done your shop. Yeah. And I mean, I saw you mentioned the machine you've got at home. I did see a photo of you on that with a stick. Was that sort of pretending it was the oar?
Well, it's actually a paddle shaft.
It looked like a stick. It looked like your broom.
Yeah, it's made out of carbon fibre. That stick probably cost £200 at least.
I've been saying all morning that you're there on that machine with a stick. I'm so sorry.
It's carbon shaft. It's carbon fibre kayak shaft with the ends are on sort of ropes. That is where the resistance is, and there's like an air fan, which provides the resistance.
I'm so embarrassed that my glasses have steamed up.
Well, to the uninitiated, it is a stick, but it's actually a very expensive stick.
Okay, I'm going to move over to Andy. I think I've offended David. Now, first of all, it was a training sessions of just 3 miles. Now it's a stick, which is actually an expensive carbon shaft. Andy, how are you feeling? All those months of training that you've been doing, sitting here in the motorhome, and tonight you're heading off on the ferry to start your adventure.
I think the preparation's been good, but as Dave said, you never feel that you're fully prepared. So it's got that bit of anxiety about, have I done enough? Also, on top of that, I've still got to go back to work after this and finish off some tickets that I've got to clear and make sure people get their business done. So that's a bit of a pressure as well. But yeah, feeling good, feeling excited. Looking forward to going on the ferry because it's always a great experience to go across to the continent on the North Sea ferry. It's just really nice, pleasurable experience.
And when you get off the ferry, then you've got quite a long journey, haven't you, ahead of you? Tell us what you're going to be doing.
Yep. So initially we are driving across to Berlin to meet up with our friends out there. Lynn Simpson has invited us. So Lynn Simpson is from the local area. And she was ex-ladies canoe slalom world champion from 1995. And so she's invited us to paddle out there with one of her sons. So we're driving straight to Berlin. On the Sunday we are racing canoe slalom, hence we've got 2 canoe slalom boats on the roof of the van as well. And then after that we are leaving as soon as possible to then make our way through Poland, through Lithuania, through Latvia, and then into Estonia. The race is actually in the southeast of Estonia, but we have to go quite a way into Estonia to hire a car. So it is... We are doing this race unsupported. So most people that are local to the race will have a crew that come along and provide them with food as they go, top up the water for them, even carry the boat where they need to portage around different weirs. Whereas we're doing it all ourselves. So we're going to have to leave a car at the top of the end of the race, our motorhome at the top of the race, and take everything with us. So it is going to be a challenge. We're looking forward to the challenge, but anything can happen, really.
Yeah, well, let's hope it all is plain sailing for you. The driving, who's going to do the lion's share?
Dave will do the lion's share. He paid for it, so if he scrapes it down anything, it's his fault. Then.
That's true.
Yeah.
And have you got what you're doing A to Z? Have you directions sat nav?
Well.
A to Z.
Well, I mean, your carbon shaft was a stick. Your high-tech sat-nav, I'll sell it as an A to Z map.
Well, I've updated the sat-nav with all the maps. And that's when we realised that our maps only cover Western Europe, so, not the Baltics. So thankfully, we've got our phones with us, so we're going to use Waze. I think it's going to be the main one to navigate us through the bits that our maps don't cover.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we'll be fine. We'll just head east and then a bit north.
It'll be an experience, certainly, won't it? And just, we haven't talked so much about the actual 100-kilometre event, the ultra marathon. Talk us through that bit.
Yeah, so the race starts at a place called, and I do apologise about my pronunciation, Voru, V-O-R-U, with some accents. And then we start and you do about 5 kilometres round a lake, and then you launch into the Vohandu River, and you follow that down. And during the actual course, there's 6 portages, which is where you have to actually take your boat out, and they're for things like bridges that are just too low to paddle under. There are some large weirs that you can't paddle over, and then there are also 4 of those, and then 6 rapids. So those are relatively small for our experience on white water, but quite large for a boat that's not really designed for white water. It's designed for sea kayaking, the double kayak we're using. So it is going to be a little bit of an experience taking it down. And then obviously we paddle the river and we paddle towards a lake that's on the Russian border. And we finish off in this little town where hopefully we get a really good result, really good time, and we get a medal. Whatever happens, we get a medal. No. As long as we finish. We have to finish.
You have to finish. Oh, I'm sure you will. Dave, you mentioned the weather and conditions, and when we spoke last time, if the snowfall melts, it'll mean that the levels are higher, which would be better for you.
Yeah, I mean, the fastest time was set last year because there'd been a lot of water coming in the rivers, the snow had melted. So obviously there's more water pushing through the river, so the water flows faster. But, you know, we've seen quite a lot of videos where people in the afternoon are just paddling in the T-shirts. So clearly the conditions are mixed. We've prepared for all eventualities. We'd love the sun to be out and paddling in short sleeves if we can, but we just don't know. But there's 2,700 people partaking, 1,300 craft on the water. The river's quite narrow, so there's going to be quite a lot of jiggery pokery sort of trying to get through, because we'll have one of the longest craft on the river, and trying to thread our way through that to put a competitive time in. You know, we will be the best. We'll have to set the best record for a British crew, because no other crew's ever done it. So no matter how badly we do, we will have set the British record. But we're hoping to have finished within 10 hours. But as Andy was saying, the slalom race that we're doing, that's a 90-second race. That's generally what our canoeing experience has been all around. So a 90-second race to a 10-hour race is somewhat different. Yeah. Very different physically. It's going to be a challenge.
Well, you're going to keep us up to date, aren't you, throughout your journey? We want to know how you're getting on, so make sure you stay in touch and we can share that as well with listeners. You're raising money for Dove House Hospice. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, because we've got representatives from there coming in to talk as well. So we'll speak again in just a moment. But for now, Dave and Andy, thank you very much for bringing the motorhome here. Again, I apologise for the stick reference. It'll never be said again. I'm going to come off the motorhome, just take one of these bottles of beer with me. So come off the motorhome, step down. So yeah, I'm going to head back into the studio and we'll find out a bit more about Dove House Hospice and the work it does, of course, recognised by so many. Back in the studio then, I was out just a moment ago on board a motorhome that Dave Rawding and Andy very kindly brought to us. It's ahead of their trip to Estonia, setting off tonight on the ferry, and then they'll be driving, making their way to Estonia via Berlin. So we've talked a little bit about what they're doing, this 100-kilometre ultra marathon in Estonia, raising money for Dove House Hospice. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I'm joined in the studio by Jethro Shearing, who's the senior fundraiser there, and Vicky Fitzgerald, individual challenge fundraiser. And we'll speak in a moment about what you do and why it's important that people like Dave raise money for charity. But if I bring you in first, Dave, thank you for coming in and talking a little bit more to me before you set off. We spoke about what you're going to be doing in Estonia, and I just wonder why you picked Dove House Hospice as your charity of choice.
Well, Kingston Kite Club have had a long association with Dove House because of the exceptional work they do, and even this year 2 of our family members have ended up having end-of-life care in Dove House, and the feedback from their respective relatives has been exceptional. You know, so Dove House is a charity which is close to everybody's heart in the city and the region, and it was an obvious choice for Andy and I that when we decided we were going to do something that was a challenge, we wanted something that actually we could think as we're suffering physical discomfort ourselves, actually, where, you know, what's the best thing for us to do locally? And in this region, Dove House was definitely one of the primary ones.
Yeah, in those times where it might become difficult, where you've run out of your jam sandwiches, then you dig deep and know that you're raising money for such a great cause. How's the fundraising been going?
Yeah, pretty well, actually. I think we're about £150 currently off our target. We had a target of £2,500. I think we'll definitely beat that. Yeah, and, you know, if you look at KKC charity, Kingston Kayak Club charity, then if people do want to donate, then the link to our social media is there. There's the link to the Just Giving page, and also there's a lot of information about the race itself, which is quite a spectacle up in that part of the world.
Yeah, I was having a look at some videos of previous events, and I mean, yeah, the setting itself is stunning, isn't it? As well, but the visuals of all of those kayaks. You mentioned the numbers, 1,300. 1,500?
There's 1,300 craft and there's 2,700 participants. So, and it's a pretty narrow river. So there's going to be some challenges around getting past people to put in a set a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking forward to it. The scenery looks stunning, and you know, I think that, I mean, man has sort of evolved to sort of, you know, use its legs really for doing long distances. So it's going to be quite an achievement to sort of haul our bodies and 100 kilometres. So yeah, we are looking forward to it with reservations.
Well, I'm sure you've got your Kingston Kayak Club hoodie on, but I know when you're actually in the kayak, you've got Dove House branding, haven't you? So you know, you'll be there representing.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. So Peak Performance Kayak Gear have provided us with cagoules and buoyancy aids, which have been sign written perfectly, and the colour scheme is absolutely brilliant. So we're going to stand out. We're going to look like a pretty stunning crew on the water. Hopefully our performance will justify the quality of the kit we've got.
It will. If I bring Vicky in now, Vicky, you're the individual challenge fundraiser for Dove House Hospice. First of all, just remind us, and most people listening know, but remind us what Dove House Hospice provides for this area.
Yeah, so obviously we provide care for people with progressive life-limiting illnesses, and we have lots of other services as well, from different clinics and outpatient clinics and things like that can help the local community. And
I mean, what difference does it make?
It makes a huge difference, you know. We have people that take on smaller challenges and amazing challenges like Dave and Andy are taking on, and every bit of those challenges helps the hospice.
And as part of your job then, are you mostly spending your time in the company of people like Dave who are doing crazy things like this to raise money?
Yeah, so I look after people that take on challenges that the hospice puts on, so jumping out of a plane, walking on fire. But yeah, I support all of the challenges that come through, so it could be anything from a walk across the Humber Bridge, a swim. A lot of people do the York Street Peaks, but this is something that we've not seen before, and it's really big, and yeah, we're really grateful of the support that will come from it. So,
well, I'm sure you are. I've done the walk across the Humber Bridge. I was reminiscing earlier because Peter Levy was doing the warm-up. He was limbering up all the people taking part in it, and there was much excitement at the sight of Peter Levy limbering up. Why? I've got no idea. But you mentioned walking on fire.
Yeah.
What was that?
So every year we hold a fire and ice evening that people can sign up to, so they can walk on fire, they can walk on glass, or they can just do one or the other, but it's a really good fun night. So.
I love that. Oh, they can just do one or the other, you know. Is it like hot coals?
Yes, hot coals, yeah, and broken glass. So,
oh,
yeah.
my God. You've got to get your head in the right place or something, haven't you, to do that?
Yes, there's a little bit of a training session first to get your mind in gear and tell you how to do it, but yeah.
Maybe that's the next one, Dave.
I think I'll stick to kayaking. It sounds safer and less formidable.
Next time you've done this, you can take your shoes off. In fact, we're doing here, I guess, some hot coals.
Yeah, we'll see you in October. You can come and join us.
Dave's met me twice, and already, he would not trust me.
No, bring your stick. You can poke the fire a bit.
You wouldn't go anywhere near it if I was involved, would you, Dave? I just know it. I know it. Jethro, you're the senior fundraiser for Dove House. There won't be many people that don't know, as I say, the great work that you do. We talked a little bit with Vicky about the difference that the fundraising does make, but just, explain a bit more where people's money does go. And I'm sure it doesn't matter if they're raising, £5, £5,000 or 500. It all matters, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing with hospices is that we're kind of a movement nationally, but each hospice is independent to the area that it serves. So then the amount of funding that then hospices get within each area centrally can differ. So the Dove Houses is particularly low. The equivalent of what we get would only cover 10% of the running costs a year. So in contrast, the average statistic for hospices would be about 35%. So it really does put into focus just how valuable every pound coming in is. So where it goes is it really kind of, on a basic level, it keeps the hospice running, it keeps the lights on, but where we're at now is really a quite exciting time at Dove House. During the pandemic, the majority of our services ground to a halt, barring keeping the inpatient unit on, but we're excited to be at a time at the moment where we're opening up a lot of new services. We have, as Vicky mentioned, our outpatient services are really expanding. We have we've got so many different areas at the hospice. We've got an M&D specialist nurse. We do a lot of social support. We have a child bereavement service, which I know spoke to Dave and Andy about when we had a meeting originally. But it's just really to say that every pound, every pence just makes a huge difference, and we're just so grateful for everyone. I know Andy and sort of Dave have touched upon the personal connection that the Kayak Club has with Dove House, and I think that's really important, that so many people we speak to, they're responding to care they've received personally or care that someone else has had, and it's really that kind of kindness and that kind of sense of giving back to enable the next person to have that care, that's kind of fundamental, I think, to how the hospice can help to raise that money each year. Yeah,
well, I mean, I'm from Hull. Growing up in Hull, it's a name, isn't it? Synonymous with the area, Dove House Hospice. You hear it early on in your life, and I know often it's not a nice reason possibly why you're hearing it, but without Dove House Hospice being available, it would be much worse, wouldn't it? Absolutely. I mean, I think certainly it's over the years there's been sort of more and more cuts kind of centrally in terms of the sort of palliative services and the kind of support that is available. So hospices are absolutely instrumental in kind of trying to alleviate the pressure that can be an absolutely huge thing amongst families and friends in terms of trying to support people who are going through end of life care. So that support can come in so many ways. There's a an association of hospices can be that it's all the care is just centred around right at the end of life, but there's so many different services. Someone with a palliative illness, that could be something that goes on for weeks, months, or years even. So it's what we say at the hospice, it's about adding life to days when days can't be added to life, and that could be something as little as ice cream for breakfast, or organising weddings at the hospice, or having pets in, and challenges like Dave and Andy's again, and everything that everyone does enables all those moments to happen. Well done to you guys, to Dove House Hospice, to Dave, who's got his hand up like he's in a lesson. Dave, what?
I just think that recently the experience that our members have found is the fact that families are going through really, really difficult times, and actually the sensitivity with which this difficult time is dealt with through Dove House and the support that they get makes what is a really, really difficult part of everybody's lives more tolerable, and it makes a difficult time easier for everybody, and that's the practical thing that Dove House provide. And without services like theirs, then actually people and families are left struggling alone, and unfortunately that is a horrible time for anybody. But to have somebody that's caring enough to actually be able to deal with that, and it might be just ice cream for breakfast, those last few minutes of somebody's life, being able to spoil them in a way that they will remember themselves is great. Well done to as I say, to Dove House Hospice for everything they do. Thank you both very much for coming in, and I know, as you've mentioned, that you're grateful to Dave and Andy for their challenge. Dave, I know you're going to head out later on the ferry. Remind us where we can follow your journey. So basically, if you look at Kingston Kayak Club charity, there's a link there to most of the information on this. There's also a Linktree advert which actually has got all the social medias on. You should have asked Andy about that because he remembers all this. But basically, Kingston Kayak Club charity, that will be the font to, that will be the conduit, I should say, to where you can find out all the other information.
Perfect. And you're going to keep us up to date, aren't you? You're going to send voice notes across if you remember.
Apparently, you're going to interview us if we survive. You're going to interview us when we've finished, which might be a weary interview.
Yes, I know, and I did say that. I said they'll be shattered, but we're grateful for you for doing that. I hope you smash your fundraising target. I hope you bring lots of pence in, and don't forget next time we chat after this, it'll be when we've got the hot coals and all the ice, the broken glass,
Yes, definitely.
to walk across.
I'll keep some of those beer bottles.
We'll do it on the tree. Oh, thank you all so much for coming in. It's been an absolute
Thank you
pleasure.
for having us.
Thank you again to my guests in the studio. Talking there to Vicky Fitzgerald, who's the individual challenge fundraiser at Dove House Hospice, Jethro Shearing, senior fundraiser, and of course Dave Rawding, who will be joining Andy back on the motorhome in just a moment as they prepare to head out to Estonia, leaving on the ferry tonight, then making their way towards Estonia via Berlin and taking part in that 100-kilometre ultra marathon challenge. We'll keep you up to date with their progress here, but I'm sure any messages of support would be much appreciated. So if you want us to pass anything on, then email carla@bbc.co.uk. But if you want to find out more details, Kingston Kayak Club is where you can have a look to find them.